Central bank officials receive a lambasting from the president, tells CBSL not to evade their responsibilities in reviving the economy.
ඔතන ඉන්නේ ඔක්කොම ඉකොනොමිස්ට්ලානේ ලක්ෂ ගණන් පඩි ගන්න මොනවද කරන්නේ? දැන් මම දීලා තියෙන ඔයගොල්ලන්ට ක්‍රමවේදයක්. ඒක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට කරන්න බැරි නම් හෙට උදේ වෙනකොට ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දෙන්න පුළුවන් ක්‍රමවේදය මට ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න.
Chief suspect of the bond scam, Arjuna Mahendran, has changed his name to Arjan Alexander. Attorney General informs court. Heroin worth 60 million rupees found in Kurana. 1,267 kilograms of heroin found in the past 7 months. Crisis in paying electricity bills due to a controversial statement made by the former state minister. Revelations from trade unions.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. On to those stories in detail. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said that the central bank, which has failed in its responsibility of building the economy of the country, has obstructed his proposals. The president made these remarks during a meeting with central bank officials this afternoon.
The central bank has taken many crucial steps not only in big countries but in small countries as well. What is the tool that we have used? We have used nothing. The monetary and fiscal policy has been formulated by the central bank. That should be done in accordance with the economic policy of the president of the country. You have several tools that can be used. Those tools have to be utilized. However, our central bank does not use a single tool. It stays idle. This is not a fault of the businesses. The government owes a huge sum of money to companies due to the mismanagement of the past. Let this money be kept as security for banks to release loans to them. Then they can run the economy. This is a money circulation process. This is a very simple tactic and a basic economic principle. The government has to take the blame for your conduct. Look at the status of the finance companies. It is your responsibility to regularize and monitor these companies. However, you have failed in your task. The ETI is not in a position to repay the people. The finance has been closed down without informing. How are we going to pay for that? Those at the central bank are economic specialists drawing very high salaries. I have presented you with a mechanism. If you are unable to follow it, present me your vision of the mechanism by tomorrow morning. Look at what governments of other countries have implemented. Do we see the same efforts over here? It looks as if you are here to hinder the government's efforts and trying to impede my duties. I do not have to assume this tone if you had stood by your duties. I do not want to talk about the mistakes of the previous government. As all of you know, you were there when the central bank bond scam was executed. If you supported them to commit this crime, there is no reason for all of you to not to join hands with me to deliver justice. What is the guidance you have given me? There is nothing, and you have not come forward to support me. You do not come forward to implement what I said as well. That is also being blocked.
The President's Secretary, Finance Secretary, Central Bank Governor and other officials of the Central Bank took part in the discussion.
Fugitive and former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran, the first suspect in the bond scam case, has changed his name to Arjan Alexander. Additional Solicitor General Palinder Ranasinghe, appearing for the Attorney General's Department, informed the Permanent High Court trial at bar that Interpol had communicated this development to them as a response to the Sri Lankan government's request from the government of Singapore to extradite the suspect to the country to be produced in court. Permanent High Court trial at bar justices Sampath Abekon, Sampath Wijayaratne and Champa Janaki Rajaratne ordered to issue summons once again for Ajan Gadiye Punchiheva, the 10th suspect in the case, to appear in court. Ajan Gadiye Punchiheva served as the Director of Perpetual Treasuries Limited and is believed to be living in Singapore. The Additional Solicitor General informed court the order on the writ application filed by Ajan Gadiye Punchiheva with the Court of Appeal against naming him as a suspect in the case will be delivered on the 18th of June, and thereby the Permanent High Court trial at bar ordered for the matter to be called up again on the 17th of November. The Attorney General filed the case against 10 suspects, including former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran, who changed his name to Arjan Alexander, and beneficial owner of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Arjun Aloysius. The Colombo Magistrates Court issued warrants of arrest against 4 directors of ETI today.
A case filed by 3 depositors of ETI was taken up again today in the presence of Colombo Additional Magistrate Priyantha Liyanage. Arrest warrants against 4 directors of ETI who are also main suspects in the case were ordered to be issued since they had failed to appear in court today. It was also ordered for them to be produced in court following their arrests. The case will be taken up again on the 8th of October. ETI Finance was operating under the EAP Group. Since ETI Finance was constantly suffering losses, the previous government had sought to hand it over to an investor. Accordingly, the central bank, which agreed to sell 45% of the company's shares to a Singaporean company, claimed that $75 million would be invested in it. Subsequently, a Singaporean company named Blue Summit Capital Management had invested in the EAP group of companies. However, Blue Summit Capital Management, which refused to invest in ETI Finance, acquired only the profit-making companies operating under the EAP group. Minister Wimal Weerawansa, who was representing the opposition at the time, made this revelation.
The EAP group of companies was given for a minor bid to a company owned by the infamous owner of Lanka Mobile. However, they did not reveal the connection of Lanka Mobile to the central bank at first. They got 2 associates of theirs to invest. Blue Summit Capital is a company based in Singapore. Once the transaction was complete, on the 24th of July 2018, 100% of Blue Summit Capital's shares were bought by another company named Pettigo. Who owns Pettigo? The governor of the central bank should be held accountable for this transaction as well. Although they pretend that it happened unbeknownst to them, they knew what was happening all along. The Prime Minister played a direct role in this. What has happened is, the central bank governor has aided in the acquisition of a Sri Lankan company through the funds of the LTTE diaspora.
A case is currently being examined in court regarding transactions which took place concerning ETI. Further, a presidential commission is probing the matter. The question that begs an answer is this: shouldn't the proceeds of the sale of ETI go towards the settling of dues of depositors who placed their life savings with the fund?
The police have obtained a detention order to interrogate a suspect who was arrested with 6 kilograms of heroin in Negombo. The arrest had been made by the Police Narcotics Bureau last night.
According to the police, the suspect was arrested with 6.1 kilograms of heroin valued at 60 million rupees. Officers attached to the Police Narcotics Bureau had seized the haul of narcotics during the raid. Preliminary investigation have shown that the suspect had engaged in the narcotics racket for a long time. Police have identified the suspect as a 45-year-old resident of the Corona area who was an electrician by profession. The police added that the suspect is being interrogated on possible links he has had with Dubai. It is suspected that the narcotics had been smuggled from Afghanistan.
These were the views expressed with regard to narcotic raids during a joint media briefing headed by Defence Secretary Retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne.
Approximately 44,000 suspects have been arrested over narcotic offences during the last 7 months since the last presidential election. During this period, we have seized 1,267 kilos of heroin and 6,600 kilos of cannabis. That brings the total amount of seized narcotics to nearly 8,000 kilos.
When we are seizing tons of narcotics, their street value must increase. However, as far as I know, the prices of narcotic packets haven't gone up despite making massive drug busts. It is sad to note that the secret behind this is that underworld activities, organized criminal activities, drug rackets and incidents of extorting ransom have been manipulated from within prisons. That is why a special task force had been appointed in order to put a stop to these activities. There is a statement with regard to state officials that has been misinterpreted by various entities. It is said that Kamal Gunaratne has been appointed to control state officials. I have no need to control any official other than those working in my ministry. I don't have powers to do that as well. We will not pressurize them and issue orders or directives. We are seeking their support.
These were the views that were expressed regarding the deployment of Special Task Force officers to prisons.
We have deployed more than 100 STF officers to the prisons in Angunukala Palace and Busa. That is for exterior security. After we deployed the STF, an officer had been able to arrest a person who had attempted to smuggle 150,000 rupees to a prisoner. However, the prisons officer at the time had attempted to justify the manner in which the money had been brought and accused the STF officer of interfering in his duties. Therefore, the first thing that I proposed through the Special Task Force is to appoint the correct officials to oversee prisons. Accordingly, we have appointed an honest and fearless officer to the Busa prison.
Meanwhile, these views were expressed regarding the attempts to control the spread of COVID-19.
After the 30th of April, we haven't identified any COVID-19 cases from the community. All patients who tested positive after that were either from the Navy or those who were repatriated. We have completely cleared the Valisara Navy camp. The health authorities issued the relevant advice. We have acted in keeping with that. We have left it up to them to tell us as to when we can reopen the Navy camp. I believe that we will receive the relevant advice in due course. The MCC agreement, which figured prominently on political platforms during the last presidential election, has resurfaced once again. During the presidential election campaign, certain factions of the government which opposed the agreement said that any agreement that is detrimental to the country will not be signed. However, a newspaper report citing the US ambassador to Sri Lanka says that a decision will be made with regard to the MCC agreement after the parliamentary election.
Under the previous government, a proposal had been put forward to sign the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Compact that would see $480 million being granted to the Sri Lankan government to develop the country's transportation system and land administration. According to the newspaper report, the US ambassador has said that the US was waiting until the transition of the government ends completely with the parliamentary election. Meanwhile, Nancy Van Horn, the spokesperson of the US Embassy, had told another newspaper that there is no definite date by which the agreement needs to be signed. What are these statements that are being made by the US with regard to the MCC agreement? Although the spokesperson had said that there is no definite time frame for the agreement, in September last year, Sri Lanka has already signed the AXA agreement, which was expanded during the previous government. Against such a backdrop, the SOFA agreement has also become a focal point of discussion as a proposal has been put forward to sign the agreement. Both these agreements concern the activities of the military. Although it is only the AXA agreement which had been signed, several problematic activities had been reported in the past. A cargo flight belonging to Western Global Airlines that offers services to the US Department of Defense had arrived at the Bandaranaike International Airport in September last year. Goods had been transported on these cargo flights on various occasions after that as well. Some aircraft belonging to Western Global Airlines which had arrived in the country had departed. Suspicions arose after a US diplomat had entered the country, refusing a PCR test for COVID-19 recently. Government factions later identified the official who had a diplomatic passport as a member of the Indo-Pacific Marine Corps. It is against such a backdrop that the MCC has resurfaced as a talking point in the country. The Lalita Sirigunaruwan committee, appointed by the President to study the agreement, is currently preparing its final report.
Decision on MCC after polls.
The US ambassador is telling journalists that a decision regarding the MCC will be made after the poll. The embassy might be stating that a decision on the MCC agreement would be reached after the parliamentary election on the 5th of August based on a plan. The MCC agreement is a tool for the US to further its regional interests. Otherwise, why does the US have to carry out surveying in the country? Discussions are being held at the Land Commissioner's Department on releasing lands for investors. We wish to ask the government to reveal its stance on this. We asked them before the parliamentary election to tell us as to whether this would be signed or not. after the election do not come and tell us that an agreement has been reached to amend the clauses and that 70% of the agreement is good and 30% is bad before the presidential election. Although it was said that the agreement would be crushed and discarded, the US Embassy is saying that the relevant course of action would be decided after the parliamentary election. The government must now explain its stance.
Former Minister S.P. Disanayake spoke about the future development plan during a media briefing held today. The plan includes the construction of a ground in Nuwara to bring in international sportsmen and women.
Sangakkara came to meet me, and when I told him that I was in charge of Nuwara, he came to meet me with a project proposal. He requested me to hand over the golf court to him for 20 years. He said he will bring down 1 million golfers annually. The total number of tourist arrivals increased to around 570,000. He presented his proposal logically. When I read the report, I was convinced that we can bring down 1 million golfers. We don't need a million. If we can get at least 100 to 200,000 golfers, it will bring massive benefits to the country. There's a place called Lover's Leap close to the racecourse in Nuwara. There's a beautiful lake in Lover's Leap. We even constructed a sports ground in that area, but we couldn't develop it further. We believe that if we construct a high altitude training ground at the Lover's Leap estate, it will be one of the best grounds in the world. We will be able to bring down a large number of international sportsmen and women. I took over the Nuwara district, the district where I was born. With the request of the President and the Prime Minister, we will develop Nuwara to make Sri Lanka a beautiful place.
The topic of amending the constitution has figured widely across political platforms during the run-up to the general election. Recently, former Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara had said that if his faction does not receive a two-thirds majority, the parliament would be appointed as a constitutional council to amend the constitution. Meanwhile, the Tamil National Alliance has also expressed its views on supporting a constitutional amendment.
The Tamil National Alliance had met with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa after a meeting between former parliamentarians on the 4th of May. During a recent meeting in Batiklo, TNA spokesman M.A. Sumandiran expressed the following views on and also on a possible constitutional amendment. I held a discussion with the Prime Minister recently. Our request was to create a new constitution and to resolve the long-standing political problems faced by the Tamils. If a bill that meets the aspirations of our people is prepared, we will discuss it with the government and provide the necessary documents to prepare a new constitution. They can implement it as a group which has won the hearts of the Sinhalese. However, the main condition is that our fundamental proposals must be included in it. We should have faith in this process. If we assume that this is fruitless, there is no point of putting in our efforts. The Sinhalese believe that they would not be subjected to any form of injustice as there is a leader of the war who has won their hearts. We are ready to hold talks with them. All people should live with the faith that this is one country. Therefore, an environment that is conducive to this belief must be established. The dissolution of power must take place. We hope to conduct discussions in this regard. Let us hope that our efforts will be successful. Taking part in the Pathikata program on our sister channel Sirasa TV, Vasudeva Nanayakkara said that if his faction does not secure a two-thirds majority, the parliament can serve as a constitutional council and make amendments to the constitution. The electoral system has been designed in a way in which no party can obtain a two-thirds majority. Therefore, I feel that if we receive the same amount of seats that were won by J.R. Jayawardena to amend the constitution, we will be able to convene the Constitutional Council regardless of the two-thirds majority. He wouldn't have been able to secure a two-thirds majority under this system. If an electoral system that makes it difficult to win a two-thirds majority is created, what is the avenue through which the people can exercise their sovereignty? During the administration of former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, several rounds of discussions were held to establish the Parliament as a constitutional council and to submit a new bill to amend the constitution. The first round of talks was held on the 5th of April 2016. M.A. Sumandiran was one of the key figures involved in this process. During the last phase of the previous government, various reports have been prepared over several matters.
This government started its campaign by expecting a two-thirds majority. Today, they're not talking of the two-thirds. Today, the government very confident that they are not going to get the two-thirds. They will be lucky if they can even form a government. Instead of trying to make a legal amendment to the constitution, now the government is talking about a constitutional assembly, which they are going to bring into force to change the constitution. The advice for this type of action are coming from none other than the constitutional expert, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, who has been able to amend and play around with the UNP constitution and stay in power forever.
A media briefing was organized at the UNP headquarters of Sirikota today.
When I alleged since way back that it was the top brass of the central bank that is responsible for the economic downfall of the country, they attempted to assassinate my character. I appreciate the President's statement made a few days ago urging officials to resign if they cannot do their jobs. Name the loans that are being given at an interest rate of 4%. Can deputy governors who rake in a salary of 1.5 to 1.7 million rupees speak about those who only obtain a salary of 25,000 to 30,000 rupees? These are the people who try to create an environment to get a job at the IMF once they retire. The government should represent the people, but they are not doing it. It is the media that made it that way. Was the central bank under me? My time as the Minister of Finance is like a bar owner without alcohol. The central bank was not under us. Commercial banks were under Kabir Hashim. Why are they pinning it on us? It could even be claimed as an injustice done towards us during the election season.
During the period that is mentioned by Ravi Karunanayake, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka was under the purview of former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Former Minister Lakshman Kiriyalla attended a media briefing convened at the Samagi Janabalawegaya office earlier today.
Japan had stopped providing us donations. Did you see it? They had asked what our financial policy is. There is no permanent policy. They do things according to their own plans. If aid is being given, it should be done in a proper way. We were asked how we are going to settle the loans we obtain. Mahinda Rajapaksa went to India and said that we cannot settle loans. So will these countries give us aid after such statements? We have settled all the dues until this government came in. So this is the situation of this country. The same situation before 2015 is repeating now. It is clear that we are going to face economic issues. Pressure in the country will be bigger after August.
Each passing election, politicians ask for the people's mandate to serve the people. However, did the ruling and opposition factions actually serve the people in the recent past?
මේක දකින්නේ පෙරෙන කෙනෙකුට සාපරාධිකයාවක්. මේවා සතෙකුට ගන්න දෙන්නත් බෑ. මේවා අපේ සතු ජාතික ජනය.
Under the program to purchase paddy in the Ampara district during the Maha harvesting season between 2011 and 2012, Ampara District Secretary Neil Alvis had allowed Galloya Mitiyawatha Madapalata Multipurpose Cooperative Society Limited to purchase rice in addition to the Paddy Marketing Board. The District Secretary had granted 34 million to the Cooperative Society to purchase stocks of paddy from farmers. The District Secretary had made this decision owing to a spike in paddy harvests in 2010. The Paddy Marketing Board, which had also purchased stocks from farmers that year, were forced to store some stocks outside storage facilities as more harvest had been reaped. As a result, some stocks of paddy had turned into plants. However, as a result of the decision taken by the Ampara District Secretary, private cooperative societies purchased paddy from 8 areas and had stored them. The value of the paddy that had been purchased stood at more than 1 million 192,425 rupees. The Galloya Mitiyawatha Madapalata Multipurpose Cooperative Society said that 993,384 kilos of paddy had been purchased after obtaining approval from the district secretary. 178,615 kilos of paddy worth 5,167,953 rupees had been destroyed while they were stored at storage facilities. Ultimately, 20,426 kilos of paddy remained at storage facilities. However, today we can observe that paddy that was stored 9 years ago in Ampara have been destroyed inside storage facilities. We made repeated requests to the district secretary regarding this. As we have to pay money for this, we asked for a solution. However, we did not receive any response to at least a single letter that we sent. Now these stocks of paddy have been destroyed. Now we are in debt to the district secretary. We don't have paddy as well as money now. We owe the district secretary around 5 million rupees. The middlemen are asking for commissions from us. We are not in a position to pay them. Farmers express deep grief over how paddy which was cultivated amidst several hardships have been destroyed at storage facilities.
Amidst heated political debates and the hardships faced by various countrymen across the island, we made revelations regarding foreign influences in our country. The revelation highlighted the indefinite time frame of the MCC compact and the possibility of it being considered following the general election. Now, the US ambassador to Sri Lanka and the media spokesperson expressing the above views only after a few days since the police dispersed protests in Colombo is in fact a very significant fact. Political and social activists and trade union members once again gathered in Colombo to voice their opposition against police oppression.
The behavior of the US police speaks volumes of the impact they have on their own people. Similar to George Floyd's death due to police oppression, yet another unfortunate incident of the same magnitude was reported just days ago. Groups who have studied the impact our country will have from the MCC Compact and the AXA agreement predicts that there is a risk that Sri Lanka too will undergo this same violence and this same oppression. Attempts of the Frontline Socialist Party to stand against police oppression in the United States had to be halted after the interference of Sri Lankan police. The Frontline Socialist Party representatives of trade unions and civil associations gathered at the Lipton Circus once again to voice their opposition against this oppression.
This was a punch to democracy by violating quarantine laws. This matter came up in courts. It was discussed in court that this was done under political influence. Where were the quarantine laws in Thunderman's funeral? If someone is violating a court order, they have to be arrested. The police does not have power in this matter. The police can implement the court order. This is a misuse of the court order. This is implementing the court order by force. These matters were discussed in court. This I tell to all people who will be impacted by the coming economic crisis. This is an attempt to block your voice.
This attack proved to everyone that this government is for the United States. Also, we saw an English newspaper this morning had published that a decision will be taken regarding the MCC Compact following the general election. The government is idling around now. They do not give an exact response when queried about the MCC Compact. The attack on the 9th of this month was launched by the government to prove that they are for the US government.
What is the message? This government is very clearly using these quarantine laws and the prevailing situation of the country to promote their political movement.
The US ambassador to Sri Lanka has said that they are ready to sign the MCC Compact after the general election. The government is yet to respond. But one thing is clear. Although they are claiming they are patriotic, their devotion towards the United States is clear. It is after the general election we will be able to see the improvements of these theatrics displayed by the government. What will happen to the people who will oppose the government is presently being displayed in the country.
Up next is a short commercial break. Are facing
Junior employees of the Balapitiya base hospital staged a protest for the 5th day, demanding their overtime payment. It's been 5 days since the junior employees of the Balapitiya base hospital have refrained from engaging in their duties.
We are demanding the overtime payment that we worked for. We don't want an extra cent. No matter how much we inform them, they will never listen to us.
Doctors, nurses and junior employees of Homagama Base Hospital engaged in a protest at 11 this morning opposite the hospital, demanding the allowance and the overtime payments from the month of March. Meanwhile, during a media briefing held today, the new employees union of the Ceylon Electricity Board alleged that they are in distress over a statement made by the former State Minister of Power and Energy.
Our State Minister said no prices would be charged for the supply of electricity for March and April. This has given rise to many issues. There would be no issue if it was decided through the cabinet and so on. This statement has created a problem for those employed at the CEB. Consumers come to our office, show the video and ask for refunds. When our officers go to the houses, the people show them the video and ask why bills are issued.
Although an island-wide curfew has been imposed in the country, 58 people have lost their lives due to accidents that took place during the past 6 months. According to Traffic Police Headquarters, the number of fatal bus accidents during the past 6 months is 49. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa spoke about the matter recently while stressing on the importance
to Colombo collided onto the Lunoya bridge in the area. Police suspect the driver had fallen asleep on the wheel. 113,000 buses have operated in the island in the year 2019. 6,300 private buses operate in the western province alone. Of the 88 road accidents that occurred during the first 6 months of 2019, 97 people have died. Traffic police said this year 58 people have been killed in 49 accidents that took place during the first 6 months of this year.
I don't understand why they are in such a hurry. Too many accidents have taken place.
There are times the vehicle can be controlled and there are times the vehicle cannot be controlled. There are also times the pedestrian crossing the road is completely at fault. At times like that, it is wrong to blame the driver. There are shortcomings from the driver's end too. There are times the drivers don't stop at pedestrian crossings. This job is like setting out to sea. Officials of the Sri Lanka Traffic Police will be touring Colombo Fort in civil attire to inspect the situation. They will also be travelling in long-distance buses and record the conduct of those drivers. The traffic OICs will be informed and a program has also been implemented to create awareness among the bus drivers in this regard.
This was how police officials engaged in inspection in Bokundara.
The number of motorbike and three-wheel accidents should be reduced. Those vehicles are small in size when compared to other vehicles. Bigger vehicles are not careful about small-made vehicles. So this is a huge issue. The government should calculate the capacity in roads. We are taking all necessary measures to prevent road accidents. 98% of buses are built on lorry chassis. They are not suitable to transport passengers. That is one main reason why these accidents occur. There are other reasons too. But this is mainly why we are planning to bring down buses into the country instead of lorries.
Up next is Action TV.
The Harispatwa Pradesh Sabha, which was inoperative for nearly 3 months due to COVID-19, was not operational today to the detriment of all those who arrived at the premises to obtain various services. However, The Pradesh Sabha was inoperational not due to a curfew or lockdown which was imposed. Activities of the Pradesh Sabha were not carried out today since state employees attached to the Pradesh Sabha had decided to disregard their duties of serving the people and instead had decided to stage a demonstration in support of the chairman of the Pradesh Sabha. This demonstration is a stark depiction of how political henchmen would disregard even a deadly pandemic such as COVID-19. Those who engaged in the demonstration alleged that the chairman of the Pradesh Sabha had been arrested by the police on the 13th of this month for a wrong he did not commit. The police had made the arrest based on a complaint which was lodged on the 11th of this month. A person who is a teacher in profession had complained to the police claiming that he was attacked by the chairman of the Harispatwa Pradesh Sabha earlier that day within the premises of the Pradesh Sabha when he travelled there to obtain an application according to the Right to Information Act. The plaintiff had also been directed to the hospital through the police. 2 days following the incident, the police had arrested the chairman of the Pradesh Sabha, firstly because it is legal to do so, and secondly since the police would have obtained accurate and compelling evidence to do so. The suspect had then been released on bail after a B report on the matter had been presented to the court. What the protesters who took to the street today challenged during their demonstration was simply a B report which had been accepted by the court. Such an assault did not occur. However, the police arrived from time to time and recorded statements from employees. The employees are anxious now. We are engaged in this protest since the reputation of the Harispatwa Pradesh Sabha is being tainted. The recording of statements by the police from time to time only reveals to us that the law is being implemented properly. Considering it a burden is simply a breach of the law. Those who stand for the reputation of the Pradesh Sabha might be unaware of the chairman's behavior. There is an undeniable link between this footage from an incident which took place on the 27th of May and the incident which occurred on the 11th of this month. The matter which led to this sort of violent behavior is the Harispatwa Pradesh Sabha shirking its responsibility to open up an entry door to a neighborhood which had been forcefully blocked for over 16 years. More details on this matter tomorrow on Action TV.
Acting Inspector General of Police C.D. Vikramaratne has instructed all police stations not to inspect the permits granted to transport sand until the government reaches a policy decision.
The chairman of the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau, Anuraval Pula, said the Minister of Environment and Wildlife instructed him to temporarily suspend the permit system required to transport minerals with effect from the 1st of June until further notice. Today, the leader of the National Unity Alliance, Azad Sali, lodged a complaint regarding the instructions given by the acting IGP to the National Election Commission.
Once the nominations have been handed over, we saw your media report yesterday which showed that people like Roshan Ranasinghe, Vimal Veerwansa, party leaders, parliamentarians and ministers have asked for sand. This shows that they need sand to carry out their election campaign. We saw what happened after sand was filled in a project that costed around 800 million. Sand is being mined at several places. These individuals are asking for sand without an auction or tender process. The government is pressurizing the acting IGP to inform all police stations to refrain from inspecting the sand transportation licenses of lorries. This is similar to giving a bribe. This is a major issue in the country. I think that they cannot engage in such activities during the election period. They are stealing this sand which costs around 80,000 rupees. That is what we have been repeatedly saying, that the government is involved in foul activities. From November onwards, this is what they have been doing. They did not reduce the prices of petrol and gas when their prices had gone down. They could not issue the 5,000 rupee grant in a proper manner as well. They said that they would provide fertilizer and failed to do that. When the people are finding it difficult to find some food and water, the slogan is to earn money by providing sand and to win the election.
We live in an era in which politicians engage in demagoguery and a constant power struggle while boasting about mega projects that may or may not be completed. Against such a backdrop, this is the voice raised by the people over a silent service.
In 2016, this was a situation of the community hall in the village of Kandakulia that falls under the purview of the Kalpitiya Divisional Secretariat. The community hall had been used by the Rural Development Committee and Death Donation Society in the village.
Unfortunately, the public representatives who were elected to Parliament, provincial councils and Pradeshiya Sabhas can be seen only during the next election. They do not effectively resolve the problems concerning our roads and the lack of water. Once the next election is over, we will go back to where we were. Public representatives who were voted into power by the people and who do not fulfill their duties are the ones who will be upset about the Sirasa Gammadda initiative.
On the 20th of September in 2016, Gammadda laid the foundation stone to resolve this issue that had fallen to deaf ears for nearly 2 decades. The community hall was successfully vested with the public on the 17th of November in 2016. This is why villagers of Kandakulia sing poems of happiness when Gammadda visits their area.
Nokara wedi sadda Sirasa Gammadda Kalameya Siddha Evani Saviyak Tawat Adda.
The leader of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Sajith Premadasa, attended several public gatherings today.
Kandalama Mirigam Elections Office of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya was officially opened by Sajith Premadasa. Many attendees, including Mirigama seat organizer, former Minister Edward Gunasekara, and other candidates also attended the event.
To rule a country, you need strength, you need a spine. When a government gives an order, it should be implemented on this earth. What happened to the price control orders? What has happened to salmon and dal? The overall price of foods has increased. According to the paddy mafia, the government works on the means of the others. This era is the one where people have become slaves. One minister of the Pohottu is saying that Sajith Premadasa will give 20,000 rupees to every family. They are questioning us as to how we would provide that. Let me tell you how we do it. We will not implement sand nourishment projects for commissions. A cricket stadium is going to be built in our country at a cost of $40 million. Highway contracts have been signed where we have to pay exorbitant interest commission loans. Huge sums of money were spent for many projects. I would like to say that after the elections, we would not join hands with those people. There won't be deals to rob banks as well.
Meanwhile, the opening ceremony of the Nigambu Elections Office of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya was held under the auspices of Sajith Premadasa.
The city of Colombo is the commercial capital of Sri Lanka. The following is a special report on a few areas of the city which fall under the purview of the Colombo Municipal Council.
This is the state of the drainage ranging from Fairfield Gardens in Boralla to Vanathamulla. Residents of the area claim that because of the garbage there have been several environmental problems and their daily activities have been disrupted since the area gets inundated by the garbage. They further claim that this is a major health hazard as well. Even though the Colombo Municipal Council has been informed about this, no action has been taken to solve this problem.
This drainage have been blocked by the Municipal Council. 90% of the drainage is covered by garbage. Even after a small rain, the drainage system gets fully covered by water and it flows to our houses. This problem has been there for 10 years. Still no proper solution is given. We feel that if the drainage system in the lower level is cleaned and widened, this problem will be solved. Even though they accepted it, they have still not taken action to solve it. We have sent letters to inform them for 3 years. When the water level fails to reduce before 1.5 feet, it overflows. Even vehicles on the road gets covered by water.
The people hope that officials of the Colombo Municipal Council who have been informed of this matter take immediate steps to solve this.
What is the current progress of the review committee report of the 2019 South Asian Games? Sports First inquired into the matter.
Sri Lankan athletes who took part in the 2019 South Asian Games underwent a plethora of hardships while preparing for the Games and taking part in the Games. A group of athletes who were lodging at the Sugatadasa Sports Hostel contracted dengue, and another group of athletes had to go in search of places to lodge in Nepal. Inconvenienced athletes due to the appalling lodging facilities, air ticket issues, and athletes not getting their national jersey for the Games even though they have paid for it are only a few problems that were highlighted. Based on the allegation that Sri Lanka gave priority to the administration instead of the athletes in the 2019 South Asian Games, a 4-member committee was appointed to look into the matter. The review report of the committee highlighted the conflicts between the Ministry of Sports, Department of Sports Development and National Olympic Committee. The report consists of many information that damages not only the sports law but also the discipline of the sport.
This report highlights the drawbacks that occurred in 10 sports at the Games. Therefore, we have appointed three-member committees to investigate that. The committees will analyze the reports thoroughly and provide recommendations after summoning the relevant officials and obtaining information from the relevant documents. If this report proves that faults have been committed by officials, the subject minister will take legal action against those officials and people who are responsible, because the Sports Act has the right to punish whoever is at fault. We have pointed out the issues clearly. A special committee has to be appointed in this regard. I personally think that a 3-member or 5-member committee should be appointed under a judge. The ministry appointed many committees to find out what happened, but not a single report has surfaced. But this process will drag further because no action has been taken, and also due to the ongoing tug-of-war between the Olympic Committee and the Ministry of Sports. Disciplinary action must be taken against these officials and the administration has to be cleansed. Although many steps have been taken by the Minister and the Secretary, no one would be able to reap those benefits if this situation prevails.
A national program to ensure that the schools are up to standard in terms of health guidelines that were issued commenced at the Royal College in Colombo today.
The classrooms with the Royal College in Colombo were disinfected in line with the latest health guidelines. The project has been launched with the support of many institutions, including the Police Sports Division and the Colombo Municipal Council. MTV Embassy Media Network was the media partner of this national project. Senior DIG Desabandhu Tennakon, Director of National Schools Kitsri Lianagamage and others attended the event.
This had the support of the health sector as well as the education sector. Even though this commenced from Royal College, this will reach even the smallest of schools. The project that will commence island-wide from the 29th will go on until the 5th of July.
As Sri Lanka's most forward-thinking media network, MTV, MBC and Newsfirst, we have been involved in many such community projects over the past 2 decades. As you know, from Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra to Suvayatra and Gammadda, we have always, especially Sirasa Media Network, has been the people's network.
The government has decided to reopen the schools that have been closed since the 13th of March under 4 phases. The project will draw attention to the relevant infrastructure required to keep the students safe in terms of health once schools reopen.
Staying on the same topic of education, the Education Ministry has said that a final decision would be reached on the date of the advanced level examination after obtaining the opinions of teachers and principals after schools reopen on the 6th of July. Issuing a statement, the ministry said that Education Minister Dalasala Peruma had instructed to consider whether the advanced level exams can be held on the 7th of September in a manner which is not unfair for the candidates. In more news, Reverend Father Ernest Porutota, who rendered a yeoman's service to Sri Lanka's cinema industry and the field of mass media and communication studies, passed away earlier today. He passed away at the age of 88 while receiving treatment at a private hospital in Colombo.
Father Ernest Poruthotta was born on the 31st of August 1931 and was ordained on the 2nd of February 1957. He did an outstanding amount of missionary work in Dehiyagata, Kalaniya, Kaluthara, Kalamulla, Kotte, Wattala, Dehiwala, Kadawatha and Kirimatiyagara. As the National Director of the Catholic Organization for Cinema and Audiovisual, Father Poruthotta's service to the film industry and the field of mass communication was enormous. The services of Reverend Father Ernest Poruthotta as a critic and as an author will forever remain in the hearts of many.
Major General Suresh Tuan Saleh, the incumbent director of the State Intelligence Service of Sri Lanka, has taken steps to address a letter of demand to Ms. Yasmin Sukha and the International Truth and Justice Project.
The said letter of demand sent through Major General Saleh's lawyer Pasan Weerasinghe states that on or about the 1st of June 2020, Executive Director of the ITJP, Yasmin Sukha, has issued a press statement making various defamatory remarks against Major General Saleh. The press statement is said to be published via the ITJP Sri Lanka's website. The letter of demand highlights the defamatory implications have resulted in parties with vested interests making attempts on the life of Major General Saleh. Further, it states that the defamatory remarks of Yasmin Sukha, published by the ITJP Sri Lanka website, have caused unto the Major General's character and reputation a significant damage, which the Major General has valued at 1 billion rupees and in turn demanded that Yasmin Sukha and ITJP pay.
Taking a look at news from overseas now, police said a man was shot and wounded during a protest near a museum in downtown Albuquerque, New Mexico, where demonstrators were reported to be trying to tear down a sculpture of a 16th century Spanish conquistador. Protesters, venting anger over last month's death of George Floyd, have taken to destroying statues honoring the US Civil War's Confederacy, as well as sculptures of imperialists, conquistadors and other historical figures. And that's a wrap of primetime news on TV1 for tonight. I'm Jama Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team, along with our sign language interpreter Brian De Cruz. Take care, stay safe and good night.